Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that resonates with so many of us in our high-pressure world: the psychology of people who are obsessed with perfection. If you've ever felt that nagging urge to make everything flawless, or if you know someone who seems trapped in an endless cycle of striving for the unattainable, this is for you. Perfectionism isn't just about being detail-oriented or ambitious. It's a complex psychological trait that can shape lives, for better or worse. In this exploration, we'll unpack what perfectionism really means, why some people become obsessed with it, the hidden costs it brings, and how to navigate it toward a healthier path. By the end, you'll have a clearer understanding of this mindset and perhaps even some tools to reflect on your own tendencies. Let's start by defining perfectionism. At its core, perfectionism is the relentless pursuit of exceedingly high standards, often accompanied by harsh self-criticism when those standards aren't met. It's not merely wanting to do well. It's an all-or-nothing mentality where anything short of perfect feels like failure. Psychologists like Dr. Paul Hewitt and Dr. Gordon Flett have spent decades studying this, identifying it as a multidimensional construct. They describe three main types: self-oriented perfectionism, where the pressure comes from within; other-oriented perfectionism, where one demands perfection from others; and socially prescribed perfectionism, where the drive stems from perceived expectations from society or loved ones. Imagine someone like Alex, a fictional composite based on real psychological profiles. Alex is a graphic designer in their mid-30s, constantly tweaking designs until the wee hours, convinced that one more adjustment will make it perfect. This isn't just dedication, it's an obsession that leaves Alex exhausted and isolated. Why does this happen? To understand, we need to look at the roots of perfectionism, which often trace back to early life experiences. Childhood plays a pivotal role in shaping perfectionistic tendencies. Many perfectionists grow up in environments where love and approval are conditional on achievement. Parents who praise only straight A's or flawless performances inadvertently teach children that worth is tied to output. This is echoed in attachment theory, proposed by John Bowlby, which suggests that insecure attachments, where a child feels they must earn affection, can foster perfectionism as a coping mechanism. For instance, if a parent is critical or distant, a child might strive for perfection to bridge that emotional gap, believing that being good enough isn't sufficient. Genetics also factor in. Twin studies, such as those published in the Journal of Personality, indicate that perfectionism has a heritable component, with estimates suggesting that 20 to 40% of the variance in perfectionistic traits can be attributed to genes. This means some people are biologically predisposed to higher levels of conscientiousness, a Big Five personality trait often linked to perfectionism. Conscientious individuals are organized and goal-driven, but when amplified, this can tip into obsession. Cultural influences amplify these predispositions. In societies that idolize success, think of the American dream or the relentless hustle culture promoted on social media, perfectionism thrives. Platforms like Instagram showcase curated lives, fueling comparison and the fear of falling short. A study from the American Psychological Association found that perfectionism rates have risen significantly among young adults over the past 3 decades, correlating with increased societal pressures for excellence in education, careers, and appearances. Now, let's distinguish between healthy striving and obsessive perfectionism. Adaptive perfectionism, or what some call positive perfectionism, involves setting high but realistic goals and deriving satisfaction from progress. It's motivational and flexible. Maladaptive perfectionism, however, is rigid and self-defeating. Here, the obsession isn't with achievement but with avoiding failure at all costs. This leads to procrastination, ironically, because the fear of imperfection paralyzes action. As psychologist Carol Dweck's research on mindsets shows, perfectionists often have a fixed mindset, viewing abilities as innate rather than malleable, which makes setbacks feel like personal indictments. Delving deeper into the psychological mechanisms, cognitive distortions play a huge role. Perfectionists engage in all-or-nothing thinking, where outcomes are binary, perfect or worthless. They might magnify flaws while minimizing successes, a bias known as selective attention. Rumination is another culprit, endlessly replaying mistakes, which reinforces negative self-beliefs. Neuroscientifically, this ties to heightened activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, and reduced activation in the prefrontal cortex, which handles rational decision-making. Chronic stress from this obsession can lead to elevated cortisol levels, impacting overall health. The obsession with perfection doesn't exist in a vacuum. It profoundly affects mental health. Research consistently links maladaptive perfectionism to anxiety disorders, depression, and even eating disorders. For example, in anorexia nervosa, the pursuit of a perfect body becomes life-threatening. A meta-analysis in Psychological Bulletin reviewed over 200 studies and found strong correlations between perfectionism and psychopathology. Perfectionists are more prone to burnout, as they push themselves beyond sustainable limits, leading to emotional exhaustion and depersonalization. Let's consider the impact on relationships. People obsessed with perfection often struggle with intimacy because vulnerability, admitting flaws, feels threatening. They might become controlling, imposing their standards on partners or friends, which breeds resentment. In families, a perfectionist parent can inadvertently pass on the trait, creating a generational cycle. Professionally, while perfectionism can drive initial success, it often hinders long-term growth. Leaders who demand flawlessness stifle creativity and innovation in teams, as employees fear taking risks. A Harvard Business Review article highlighted how perfectionist managers experience higher turnover rates because their criticism demotivates staff. To illustrate, think about historical figures who embodied this obsession. Leonardo da Vinci, the Renaissance genius, was notorious for leaving works unfinished, like the Adoration of the Magi, because he couldn't achieve his vision of perfection. This Da Vinci syndrome shows how obsession can paralyze even the most talented. On a modern note, athletes like Serena Williams have spoken about the double-edged sword of perfectionism, driving her to greatness but also causing immense pressure. Shifting gears, let's explore the evolutionary perspective. Why would our brains evolve to support such a potentially harmful trait? Some psychologists argue that perfectionism is an exaggerated form of adaptive behaviors from our hunter-gatherer ancestors. Striving for excellence in skills like hunting or crafting tools could mean survival. In small tribes, social approval was crucial, so meeting high standards ensured status and resources. Today, in a world of abundance, this wiring misfires, turning helpful ambition into debilitating obsession. Gender differences add another layer. Studies suggest women report higher levels of perfectionism, possibly due to societal expectations around appearance, caregiving, and career balancing. A paper in Personality and Individual Differences found that women are more likely to experience socially prescribed perfectionism, feeling judged by external standards. Men, conversely, might channel it into workaholism, but both genders suffer similar mental health repercussions. Now, what about the positive side? Not all perfectionism is destructive. High achievers like surgeons or pilots benefit from meticulousness, where errors have high stakes. Positive perfectionism correlates with better academic performance and life satisfaction when coupled with self-compassion. Dr. Kristin Neff's work on self-compassion emphasizes treating oneself with kindness during failures, which can buffer the negative effects of perfectionism. But for those obsessed, the toll is real. Physical symptoms include insomnia, headaches, and gastrointestinal issues from chronic stress. Socially, isolation creeps in as perfectionists withdraw to avoid judgment. Creatively, it blocks flow states, where imperfection is part of innovation. Writers with perfectionism might stare at blank pages, fearing the first draft won't be flawless. To manage this obsession, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is a gold standard. CBT challenges distorted thoughts, like replacing "I must be perfect" with "progress is enough." Techniques include exposure to imperfection, deliberately making small mistakes to build tolerance. Mindfulness practices, drawn from Eastern philosophies and Western psychology, help by fostering present-moment awareness, reducing rumination. Self-compassion exercises are transformative. Neff's model involves self-kindness, common humanity, recognizing everyone's struggles, and mindfulness. Journaling prompts like, "What would I say to a friend in this situation?" shift self-criticism to empathy. Setting SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, helps make standards realistic. Support systems are crucial. Talking to trusted friends or joining groups like Perfectionists Anonymous, yes, they exist, normalizes the experience. Professional help, such as therapy or coaching, provides tailored strategies. Medications like SSRIs can address co-occurring anxiety or depression. Let's consider case studies for depth. Take Sarah, a college student obsessed with perfect grades. She studies excessively, sacrificing sleep and social life. Through therapy, she learns to prioritize balance, realizing that a B+ doesn't diminish her worth. Or Mark, a CEO whose perfectionism alienates his team. Executive coaching helps him delegate and praise efforts, boosting morale and productivity. In creativity fields, embracing imperfection fuels breakthroughs. The Japanese concept of wabi-sabi celebrates beauty in flaws, an antidote to Western perfectionism. Artists like Picasso iterated through imperfect drafts to create masterpieces. As we wrap up, remember that perfection is an illusion. Life's richness lies in its messiness. Growth comes from stumbles, not seamless paths. If you're obsessed with perfection, know it's common, but changeable. Start small, forgive a minor flaw today, celebrate effort over outcome. Thank you for joining this deep dive. If this resonated, reflect on your own life. Are you chasing perfection or pursuing excellence with grace? Until next time, embrace your humanity.